God did. Right, Khaled?
Gatorade.
Episode count in anime is always a topic when a show is being announced or people crying about a show having too much episodes. There's always a pattern when it comes to an episode count for an anime. It could be the usual 12, 13 episodes or 24, 25, 26 episodes. Maybe it can be something unusual like 10 episodes, 20, 50, 170, 500. 2,640. But there's an episode count that kind of steadily declining because of certain events. While it's making a bit of a comeback, I guess you can say, there's no denying that consecutive 2 Coured or 24 episode animes is not as common compared to years ago. In today's era, anime is being produced in a seasonal basis that keeps increasing every year. Now that high profile shows are much more common because producers and companies want to chase that success so that they could abuse the talent working on these projects, give them not much time to work on it, but the final product still looks fucking great with a lot of errors, but normal anime watchers would not see it or care. While in record, 2015 peaked when it comes to the number of TV anime being produced, and 2006 still remains the year with the most minutes of TV animation produced. It's clear that anime as a whole is way more mainstream now. Even some celebs that I definitely know and listen to their music because my playlist is all rap. I'm cool, right guys? There's still 2 core animes, it's still a thing, but mostly it's now a separate release. Like it could be 3 months, 6 months, or more separate. We saw a lot of shows do this because mostly they don't have enough time to finish it. Some shows tries to push 24 episodes, but the quality dips a lot, or they delay the shit out of it so that it could look good. Nowadays you'll see titles like Attack on Titan Final Season, Part 1, Part 2, the final season. This is a recurring theme because something major happened in the world. That was the David-19. People are saying you get demonetized by saying that word, so I'll just change it. Why is it? The David-19 was one of the most pivotal things that made 2020 a slow year for anime. The decrease of shows being produced were obvious. Legit, summer 2020 only had 26 new animes from that season, and that's counting shows that's not even shows compared to this season right now, which has 57 shows. Of course, some shows were probably in production before 2020, but it literally stagnated the industry. People have to work from home. A lot of studios that usually help with like in-betweenings have to pause the operation. Big titles like ReZero got delayed and a bunch of stuff happened. Of course, shows that had like a healthier schedule didn't get affected much from the pandemic, but we saw the quote-unquote first couple of examples of shows titling it Part 2 and such, with Haikyuu to the Top Part 2 and SAO Alicization War of Underworld Part 2. Now before talking about after the pandemic kind of chilled out a bit, there's still shows that were technically split Coured before the whole trend of Part 1, Part 2, Coured 2 stuff. From some research, the first anime that did title their shows with Part 2 and such, that's not deliberate unlike JoJo because that's the legit title, was Attack on Titan Season 3. I could be wrong. Wit Studios didn't get the best schedule when it comes to AOT, so for Season 3 they had to split the season because back then they didn't have much staff and the schedule was not nice. Then after Season 3 they dropped the project since the schedule they were given was not very viable. Then of course MAPPA picked it up. 2 seasons being separate for only a couple of months is pretty common back then, but now they just label it Coured 2. Back then you had like Phase Zero. I think it was because they needed extra time to produce more of the other episodes. Tokyo Ghoul, White Album, Grisaya. I was gonna show a particular clip from Grisaya, but I don't want to get demonetized. Dorara X2 and such. It's not uncommon for shows to do this. It's also a very good indicator that the same team is working on the same season because probably they started working on it after the first season ended production. Not even shows that split the cores are still struggling since most normal anime watchers know like studio names or maybe director's name. The working conditions in the industry is now more public than before. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 is a very good example of the worst managed project ever, and it was very surface level information that behind the scenes it was trash because animators publicly stated how bad the conditions are in the studio. Anime productions has been like this since early 20s or even the 90s. We saw that with Evangelion. The last episode most of the time had basically illustrations of drawings with less detail or just still shots of IRL photos with some filters in it. Wait, this reminds me of something. Okay, I need to stop. Again, split cores nowadays still faces issues with delays, even more delays, and just airing the show when it's not even finished. Aniplex. Sometimes when a show is split cord, it can lose that popularity or momentum for the series. Blue Lock Season 1 should have been a split core, but they didn't do that because at that time the World Cup happened, so they just wanted to air Blue Lock at the same time as the World Cup to get more popularity, and it worked. At least it's better than how Netflix released their animes, making even big IPs, I guess, lose the hype around it, or just Disney Plus making good shows stuck in jail, like that time where Eren was in the prison cell looking at the mirror and saying, I want to commit genocide. Now postponing animes or delaying them are quite common. It could be the production committee's fault or the studio's fault. Sometimes it could be both at fault. Some studios are just incapable of managing their staff, pressuring them to work on more stuff rather than actually taking care of them. It's been that issue, sometimes not just scheduling. We don't know much about internally how these animators or directors get treated. Shows are now even doing multiple cores. Solo Leveling has been said to do like a split 6 core or part to fully adapt the manhwa. Bleach tried to do a split 4 core shit, but of course Studio Pura just brain dead, and they already failed to produce 1 core per 6 months. An even bad example is shows getting delayed when it's airing. Demon King and 86, just to name a few. Demon King was delayed for 6 months when they were on the 5th episode. I mean, like, why? And it's quite obvious that the show itself was rushed too. The pacing was all over the place, plot twists without even any explanation, and part 2 that's airing right now, I mean, I don't even have to say anything. 86 had multiple 1-week delays and a 3-month delay for the last 2 episodes, probably because they need more time to fully realize their vision. And it's a show that had a messy production, but still prevailed because the dedicated staff behind it and the director's vision, Toshimasa Ishii, with his incredible direction, and now is a very familiar director with a lot of people. Sometimes it's just worse when the schedule actually mess up with the content itself and fully ruin the show. I think the decrease of consecutive 2-core animes are very evident, because even 12 episode animes are struggling. Most studios don't have massive connections like MAPPA, where your show can be saved with multiple different teams working on different episodes. Most don't have that. Sometimes most studio can have a good in-house staff, but they're just burdened with too much shows being made. That's why I always appreciate directors or producers that know how to manage their resources well, good outsourcing, time management, and a lot more. Frieren and Dungeon Meshi is a good example. And you just have outright shows that struggle a lot, even when there's barely any movement because of the tight deadline. Classroom Release Season 2 was a show that barely had any movement, but struggled to even make the characters on model when they were standing still. Also, there's shows that put way too much time and resources to particular episodes than just outsourcing them, or make them not as good looking. Ninja Kamui introduced the viewers with some of the best choreographed fights in the first couple of episodes, and people complaining about impact frames being stolen. But the team couldn't do that for most of the later episodes because 1, it's a new studio, they don't have much resources. You can't just rely on Songgu Park to do everything, so the team opted for CG since there's not enough time to make it 2D, although it was still good, the choreography, because it was choreographed by a team behind the scene. Same goes for Zom 100. The first episode was one of the best piloted episodes, not just in terms of animation power, but the visual cues, incredible framing works and ideas. But they just had to outsource most of the episodes to Shaft because they didn't have much time, and they also made episode 5 quite a Sakuga fest, and then it was delays after delays. I mean, they didn't even finish the OP. It was finished after like episode 8 or 9. Bug Films, or basically the Kojima team that was in OLM, always sacrifices some episodes so that the team can focus on certain episodes to make it an amazing looking episode, like episode 15 of Summertime Rendering, episode 1 of Komi-san, and all the OPs and EDs for Komi-san are just some of the best things I've seen in openings and endings. While some can still strive even after the amount of delays it made and still got really good reception from fans, there was one that got absolutely dicked on because of the deadlines, animators being straight up hospitalized to the point that the show itself got ruined, although it was such a promising series. Wonder Egg Priority was a very interesting show, very high profile show. It covered a lot of dark themes and they do it really well, but they just stopped at 12 episodes with no conclusion. It was supposed to be 13 episodes, but the finale episode was released 3 months after the series ended. The special episode was an emergency move by Aniplex. They didn't even finish the storyboards for the actual finale episode when it was supposed to air, so Aniplex pretended that the 40-minute special was the actual finale episode, where the first half was just a recap, then the second half was the actual episode, but they didn't even conclude it right? I don't know. To summarize it, Wonder X production was effectively 3+ months behind. As you can see that even single core animes are struggling, but for the past couple of seasons, there has been an increase of consecutive 2-core animes. This season alone, you have Slime, Yuzakura Family, Spice and Wolf, and My Hero. While some of these animes are probably not gonna be consistent in the visuals for every episode, unlike Dungeon Meshi or Frieren, both had very consistent and ambitious episodes even late in the production because of good planning and good usage of outsourcing. Either way, hopefully consecutive 2-core animes will be more common. Of course, long-running animes are a different story. I mean, One Piece is the only good recent example of making frequent amazing looking episodes from a long-running anime. I don't know how. They have a very strong in-house team and use very new freelancers well. I don't watch One Piece, but that shit do be Sakugaing. Sakugaing. Yeah, it's no denying that it's just harder to make longer episode count because production committees and producers are just too demanding when it comes to scheduling or just the visuals for the show, but we hope for it. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what are your thoughts about anime episode count. I don't know. I'll also link some of the SakugaBlogs, our views. It really helped me on making the script for this video. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys next time.